when I started to play the guitar, when I started writing songs, I want to be the fastest guitar player on earth, like in the 80s. So, I want to go faster. But now I know that's bullshit.
Today's guest is guitarist Axel Rudi Pell, a longtime architect of melodic European hard rock and metal, with a career spanning over 35 years. And today he joins us to talk about his new album, Ghost Town, his 23rd studio album. So Axel, great to have you on again.
Thank you for having me back. Yeah, I love it.
This is excellent. So I have to, off the bat, I remember this last time when we spoke a couple of years ago about Risen Symbol. Yeah. This mysterious room you're in. What is this room? Is this your home lab, your mad scientist Frankenstein studio?
Yes, my Frankenstein studio, if you call it. It's up in my house, it's on the top floor. And this is my working desk where I sit here on my computer. And far in the back, around the corner, way back in the corner, there's my little red sofa where I'm sitting there with my guitar and playing a few things and writing songs and stuff, Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where all the magic happens and the mysteries get unlocked. So
yeah, sometimes the magic happens at the grocery store when I'm buying a piece of meat I would like to, and a melody comes to my mind and say, "Whoa, I have to hum it into my phone." And the people around me thinking, "Oh, this guy's crazy," But who cares? Who gives a shit?
Hey, whatever works, right? Sometimes our ideas come to us at the weirdest places and times, and you have to be ready, and that's the beauty of a smartphone, right?
Right, exactly. I love it.
So, Axel, what struck me about listening to Ghost Town is that it doesn't sound like a band kind of coasting on a legacy, but a band still searching. And when you went into this album, were you intentionally trying to push yourself creatively, or did it kind of just happen on its own?
It's happening naturally. I mean, the magic has to be right in the air. As I told you last time, I think I told it to you too. Because I'm telling that, it definitely comes to my mind. I don't know, for whatever reason. It's a force from above. I don't know. I say, hey, do this riff, play this riff. Yeah, that's cool, baby. And I try to find melodies. I think it comes to me very easily. They're falling from the sky. They're falling from, from the universe. I don't have to be even in the special mood to create something. Sometimes it happens there. Sometimes I only pick up the guitar, play it, just practicing a bit. I say, wow, that's a cool riff. I have to record it there. I know, it's a naturally outcome. Because you know why? Because I'm a genius.
Well, you are in the genius lab, so this is what happens. The creative spark happens, right?
Right, definitely, yeah.
Speaking of 23 albums in, it's amazing, but what inspires you to try something new? And I guess in a sense, your signature melodic riffs are all over the songs, but how do you come up with these ideas still? Things you've done before.
I don't have a clue, to be honest. Like I tell you, maybe I'm a genius. No, I'm kidding. I'm making jokes. But I don't know. It's very easy for me to write these things. It's very easy. Because, like I said, when I pick up the guitar, sometimes the riff is just there. It comes out of my fingers, out of my soul, because the flame inside me is still burning for this kind of music, for all the melodies, structures, harmonies, and whatever. And it's not a big deal to write a good song I hope good song, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think so, and we're going to talk.
The outcome, the fire is there. I'm still burning for this music. If somebody would say me, hey, you're not allowed to play the guitar anymore, you can't write more songs, you can't play live, I said, who are you? I can't think about stopping this thing. No, I can't think about it. No. I'm a very creative guy, and I love it.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So, you've always had a clear musical identity with your powerful riffs and, let's say, catchy melodies, but I feel like on Ghost Town, there are certain textures and moods that maybe you've done a little bit different than some of your past work. So maybe the question is it easier now to experiment maybe versus earlier in your career, or does it feel the other way? Like, wow, this is a risk to go outside of my norm.
Sometimes I'm thinking about, I know what you're talking about, but sometimes I sit there, I say, I'm a more mature songwriter right now than I used to be 10 years ago or whatever, or 15 years ago. And normally, when I started to play the guitar, when I start writing songs, I want to be the fastest guitar player on earth, like in the 80s. So, I want to go faster. But now I know that's bullshit, because you can't say much more through very few notes. It's very more complicated than to say something with speed notes or whatever. So what I to try to create is it's a song which of course features electric guitars, but the electric guitars don't have to be there. It doesn't have to be there every time. For example, in the song Guillotine More, which is the opening track, I keep the verses. There are no guitars in there, just to make the space bigger. Sometimes less is more. You know, you only hear the bass, the keyboards, with a great drown chord, whatever. The bass is playing too, and only the vocals there and the drums. It gets much more attention. It gets more melodic, melancholic melodic kind of mood, you know. And then the guitar hits back again, and I love it, you know. So it's cool. It's well structured, every song, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that on a lot of songs on the album, and you're right, on Guillotine Walk, because it's a great song, number one, a perfect opening track. But you pull back those trademark riffs in the verses to let the atmosphere breathe. Exactly. I mean, is that difficult though for you? Because like you say, it's like, well, it's uncomfortable. You don't normally do that.
You know, I never would try that. Have tried that maybe 20 years ago. I think, no, I have to be guitar there, man. I'm kind of a guitar player, you know. I don't give a shit nowadays because the song is a good song, and if there's no need for guitar, there will be no guitar. I'm the guitar player, but I'm not putting the guitars everywhere, you know. So the song has to breathe a bit more. Yeah, it's a more mature thinking, I think. Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with you there because, you know, it's interesting when you listen to the album. You're right. It's the sum of the parts, because I think to myself that the keyboards have such an important part to the songs, because there's passages where they're like the glue. They're like the glue that keeps the texture and the atmosphere and the mood of the song together.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Yes. Well done. Let's say.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Now, a song like The Enemy Within, this is a heavy topic, right? It's about, you know, personal inner demons, maybe it's addiction or whatever, but you know what stood out about that song is it kind of feels introspective, almost psychological. So was this about maybe self-reflection or personal experience, or was this more about like just observing the world around you?
You know, I'm not writing anything in my lyrics about my personal things, whatever. I never did. Sometimes I wrote it, okay, for a girl, maybe a love song. This is about, it's a fictional thing, you know. It's had nothing to do with my personal opinion. Of course, everybody has his inner demons, you know. My inner demon is my smoking habit, you know, definitely. And I have to fight it every day, but it mostly wins. Unfortunately, I have to quit.
Well, yeah, because I know a lot of times, you know, heavy metal is in general, it often externalizes conflict, and we turn the songs inward. So this one felt a little bit different for you to write.
Definitely, yes. But that, you know, I'm not, as I say, I'm not writing about any private things in my life, no. It's fictional. It's happened somewhere in the world and in my head and in my brain. I'm thinking about it. I don't know.
Now, are you the lyrical writer, or does your singer Johnny Gioeli do the lyrical writing?
No. I'm doing every lyrics I did by myself. As far as I remember, yes. Since Johnny joined, I'm writing all the lyrics by myself. You know, actually, what happened when I had other great singers in the band before Johnny. Jeff Scott Soto was one of them. Rock, Charlie Yoon. You know, it's sometimes contribute a little bit because they love to. When Johnny joined, I asked him first time. I said, Johnny, would you like to write a few lyrics too for the songs? He said, Axel, to be honest, I don't like to write lyrics that much.
Okay.
And he said, what can I write about? California beach girls? You know, he told me, say, you are a European guy. You live in Germany. You have all the memories and the history of castles, kings and queens, whatever. We never had this in America. You can do much better with your things. I said, maybe you're right. And I never asked him again. You know. So I'm writing the lyrics by myself. Yeah.
No, okay, because you're right. I mean, Johnny's a very identifiable voice, especially with us being in America. You know, we think of him from Axel Rudi Pell, but also bands like Hardline. But so on that point, when you're writing, how much are you thinking about his voice specifically?
Every time, because you know the main part of the song is not the rhythm guitar or the lead guitar. It's the melody of the song. The melody mostly comes from the vocals, and you know. And of course, rhythm and the combination, but the vocals are the very big part of a good song. So, well, but that's a question again. I'm sorry.
No, again, it was about his contributions and saying, you know, how the style of writing comes into it, and in a sense, almost like saying, when you're writing, are you thinking, hey, only Johnny can sell this, or can Johnny sell this or perform this?
Definitely. Yeah, of course. Every time I have his voice in my mind, especially now, and it wasn't when I wrote the first record we did together, Oceans of Time. The record was done. I mean, all the melodies and structures were done before he joined, you know. It was different, but he did great on the record, you know. And now it's after, I think he's now in my band since 1998, you know, a long time. 28 years this year. So, what can I say? You know, it's very easy for me now. I know his voice, and I know when he doesn't, his voice doesn't fit a song when I write a song in A minor. He said, Axel, it's difficult for my voice. So I don't write a song in A minor. It's no problem, you know. Nobody will recognize. No, it's, why don't you write a song in A minor? I say, are you sure it's not an A minor? I know. How to find out, you know? So it's very easy.
Okay. Now, the song Breaking Seals, right? This is a milestone for you because it's your first ever duet, of course, with legendary Dirkschneider and accept singer Udo Dirkschneider. Yeah, so how did this come about, and why at this stage of your career did you pull Udo in?
You know, I first have to say we had another collaboration with Bonnie Tyler. We did one song with her and on a ballad album way back in 2017. So it wasn't the first time that I used something from a singer from outside. But anyway, Udo was, you know, when I finished writing this song, I had in mind, wow, this sounds a little bit like the beginning. It sounds a little bit like old vintage Accept, you know. I always loved Accept. You know, I saw them first in 1981. They were opening for Judas Priest. Close to my hometown. I loved them. I loved the Breaker record when it came out in 81 and Restless and Wild, whatever. And I know Udo since over 40 years already, you know, and we see each other sometimes when playing festivals together, saying, hi, how are you? I'm great. What about you? Just small talk and bye-bye. You know, when I finished writing this song, I said, I mean, it's a good idea to ask Udo to contribute anything. It would fit. And I asked the guys in the band, I said, what do you think about it? Everybody loved the idea. So I got in contact with Udo, and he said, I will do it when I like the song, if it would fit my voice, whatever. And I sent him the song, which Johnny did by himself, all the vocal. Udo said, yeah, I'm doing it. I love it. It's great. So it was very quick and easy done. Yeah, no big deal.
Wow. So do you live in Bonn, Germany? Where is Udo located? Are you guys close in location?
Probably, maybe it's 1.5 hours in the car.
So not too far. Have you ever performed on stage with him? Did you ever guest?
No.
Okay.
No, that's different. That's different kind of thing. No.
Yeah. Okay. So what does it mean to you, Axel, like using Udo as an example, or Bonnie Tyler, that, you know, decades into your musical career to still earn that kind of respect from your peers? It's got to be a cool thing.
Oh, definitely. Yes. I love it. I love it when someone, you know, they're not saying, I don't like you. Who are you? You know, are you for Axel? Who? You know, no. Even with Bonnie Tyler, you know, she never heard my name before, and she was like, I talked to the manager first and said, oh yeah, I tell you, Bonnie has to listen to the song first, and if she loves it, she will do it. Doesn't matter who you are. I said, okay, that's cool. And I went to one of the shows, gave him the stick and the CD, and gave it to Bonnie by herself, said, oh, you look great, how are you, blah, blah. Whatever. Bonnie said, I don't like to listen to the song, to the demo right now. I don't want to get you in trouble, whatever. I'll listen to it tomorrow, and you hear from my management during the next 2 weeks or whatever. I say, okay, thank you. So when she was very nice and friendly, I went back home the next day. The manager, I got a call on my phone. Bonnie loves the song. She would like to do it. I said, whoa, what the fuck? Really, you're sure? Yeah, she loves it, and she will do it. I said, how much money she? Don't fucking forget about the money, you know. And it was done, you know. She was a very professional lady, very, very, very professional. I still love her voice. She's awesome. Yeah.
But she's obviously known best in the U.S. for the ballad "Total Eclipse of the Heart."
Of course.
So everybody knows her for that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk about, Axel, your new single, Sanity. It's another great track. You know, what came to mind on this song?
I don't know. Like I say, it fell from my soul. I put my fingers into the guitar. I don't know, you know, I love Sanity. I love especially the bass line in the verses, you know. It's very cool. It's very melancholic play. Of course, I composed the bass line at my home, and when I worked on the track, I see, wow, this is cool. But it was very tough to find a real chorus for that, which it wasn't too cheesy, you know. So, but I think it's a good combination. I love it, yeah.
Yeah, it fits well. It's sort of like on the second half of the album, and you've gone through these emotional ups and downs with the album, and then it comes back to Sanity, and you say, "Oh, this is a big one with like lots of those great, powerful riffs."
Right.
So,
Yes.
Yeah. So behind me is the beautiful album cover for Ghost Town. It's a dark castle illuminated with fire, and then there's kind of a ghost lurking. If I move out of the way, you can see the ghost kind of coming out.
Oh, there's the ghost. I see the ghost. Oh, Jesus, Mary, and the Holy Ghost. Yeah, there he is.
So you say, you're a fictional writer in a sense, but like, what came up with this idea? What's the idea behind Ghost Town and the album cover imagery?
I created the album cover, of course, by myself too. I did it with AI. You can see that with AI. It's not hand painted or because I love AI. It's so easy to create something really special. And you can work on it till it's 100% that what you had in mind before thinking about it. So I worked on this picture before I had the title. I worked on the picture. I want to have a castle and this very old medieval town there. Not maybe no people in there. And I needed had the ghost there. I don't know why I came to the ghost. I had this ghost and say, "Oh, it looks like a ghost town." I mean, it's not like a big Western movie, whatever. Cowboys and whatever shooting hay boats flying around ghost town. No, it's this medieval thing, but it's a ghost town because it's a ghost and there's an empty town. Whatever, I don't know what happened to the poor people living there. I don't know. I don't want to know.
Leave that up to the imagination, of course,
exactly.
Right?
Yes, yeah.
Speaking of medieval imagery, you often cite Richie Blackmore and Deep Purple as your inspiration. But I will say, Axel, you've carved out a career of your own to stand on your own. But maybe what was it or what is it about Richie Blackmore that still inspires you today? And by any chance, have you ever, had a conversation with him about guitars or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. The first, I have to tell you this story very short. I grew up listening to German kind of Schlagermusik. It's beat music. It's, it was end of the 60s. And then I saw Deep Purple performing on TV. I think it must be around 1970 or 1971. And I saw Richie Blackmore throwing his guitar around, dressed in black. The magic was there, I said, who the fuck is that? I love it, Sometimes I want to do it too. I'm not throwing the guitar around, but playing the guitar and be cool on stage, being, write good songs. And I followed him, and I loved all the Deep Purple albums Machine Head, Made in Japan, probably the best live album ever recorded. And then I saw when my first ever rock concert was UFO with Michael Schenker. I saw them in my hometown when I was 14. They were great, they were awesome, and I thought all these cool bands like Uriah Heep, like Thin Lizzy, they're one of my favorite bands all the time. And of course, I saw Richie Blackmore. I met him the first time in the 90s with his. He was a singer, Candice Knight, who's now his wife. And I met him at a castle in Germany. I was there and I talked to him, and I was allowed, because he had a day of image. I think it was around the time when the first Blackmore's Night album was released. And I had the chance to talk to him. The promoter said, for only 15 minutes. I said, okay, fair enough. And I was there to wait 45 minutes, and then I was allowed to sit on his place. And he was one of the nicest person I ever met in music business. The people warned me. I say, be careful. He's a angry man. He's maybe if you say the wrong words, he punch you or whatever. No, totally the opposite. He was very nice, and there wasn't 15 minutes. There was over an hour talking to him. He was very nice and friendly. And I had a present for him. Of course, I gave him my CD. But I had this private address. A friend of mine had this, and he gave it to me. And I always sending my CDs when he came out to his house. And then I had the CD in my hand. Hey, Richie, I have a present for you. And then he said, is it the CD you sent to my birthday? I said, yes. Then I know it. Give it to my road crew guy. Whatever. I said, oh, he said, you listen to it? Yeah. What do you think about my music, Richie? I said, you're a great guitar player. And some of the songs are really good. Not all of them, but some of them. I say, hey, thank you. Fair enough. I was proud, Richie Blackmore, my hero, talks about my music. It was cool. We talked a little bit about Premise Velocasters, guitars and amplifiers and whatever. It was a really nice conversation. And then he offered me to join playing soccer outside, But I didn't have the time because I had to go the train way back from this castle. It was I think it was around 5-hour ride or whatever night to go to the train station. Whatever. And then I met him several times after, but he was always nice and friendly, yeah.
Talking about promotion, you got videos out, singles, and you've got European dates tied to the album release. So talk about the touring and how important of this stage of your career is to stay on the road and keep this band visible.
It's very important because we all like to play live. We're definitely live, and we're not only good in the studio or trying to be good in the studio. No, we're really, I think most people telling us, oh, you're a great live then, because, every show is a little different, and we have the energy and the power. Johnny, for example, the singer Johnny Gioeli, he's jumping around on stage. He has the energy. He's walking. He's walking around like he's 18 or something. But not like 58. You can, when you see him, say, no, this guy's not 58. He must be in his 20s or whatever. From the energy wise.
Yeah,
we're doing great. Just like you said, we're starting the tour in middle of March, and then we run through middle of April or end of April. And then it's the first leg of the tour. We're doing the second leg in the fall. And yes.
Okay, sounds good. So do you have any other plans for 2026 outside of touring? Like what are some other things that maybe us fans should be watching out for?
I don't have a clue at the moment, because the record company always surprises me with some requests. This album comes out this year in March, but I know that we need something for 27. I'm sure they will ask you about it, but they hate live albums, so we can't do a live album. Probably they ask me, what can we do? Can you do another cover album or whatever? Or can we do a ballad? But maybe it's too early. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I'm really busy. I'm writing all the time. We have fun on the road. We play a lot of shows this year, so I don't know. I have to wait and see. Yeah.
Anything in your career you can think of, Axel, that maybe you haven't done yet musically that you would say, wow, this is something that's calling me. I want to still do this. Anything out there still you're thinking about?
No. I remember that it was like 15 or 20 years ago. I thought about maybe doing a record with 10 different singers on 10 different songs, But all my favorite singers, if they would love to. But I'm not working on that idea, because one of the biggest influence, and for me, the all-time best singer was Ronnie James Dio for this kind of music, and he passed away. So now it was too late then. I hadn't had the chance to ask him, and I put this idea away. No.
Well, you could always revisit it with some of the newer singers coming out there, but I like that idea. Yeah. So the new album, Ghost Town, is out March 20th on Steamhammer Records with European dates coming up. Axel, it was great catching up with you. But before we end this, I always like to end our discussions by, for our fans to say, hey, Axel, tell us a little something about you, the person outside of music. What do you like to do when you're not playing guitar or writing? You have any hobbies or fun things you like to do that would be a surprise for the listeners?
No, not really. I used to love to drive in a sports car. I had an Audi R8 a couple of years ago, but I sold it because I'm getting too old, And when I parked it in my garage, when the people saw me trying to get out of my own car, they cried, they laughed, because, the back hurts, and Jesus, man, it looks so stupid. I have to sell a fucking car. I know I have an SUV, also an Audi, but I love that car. It's very comfortable and whatever. But I don't have a special hobby. And sometimes I like to work with AI on my computer, creating pictures, whatever. But mostly about music, I'm creating my own T-shirts. I love that. And yes, what else? I love my girlfriend. I love to watch. I'm doing, normally when I wake up in the morning, at first time, I check my emails, and then I check the news, what's happening in the world. And I sit down, I have to do my taxes or whatever, just like office things. And then I go, before I get my first breakfast, then I go down to the kitchen and breakfast. Then I start smoking. I had to quit, I know. And that's a regular day in my life. When I have to pick up the guitar player, or I have to do something different, or I have a meeting with a merch company or whatever, I always have something to do. I never get bored when I'm at home.
Wow, you sound like just a regular old guy, just like us. You're probably checking the Olympics results like we are on this side of the world.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's the first time I'm doing it in the morning. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Axel, it was great catching up with you, and I wish you best of luck with the album.
Thank you so much. Thank you. My pleasure again. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
It was good to have you back. Have you back on. So for the latest on Axel Rudi Pell news, tour dates, and socials, visit axel-rudi-pell.de. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. I'm Metal Walt, and this is Metal Mayhem ROC.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching Metal Mayhem ROC. Subscribe and check out another interview right here.